Hello and welcome to the program Philascope. I am Akin Ajibola. Philascope is a public enlightenment program aimed at articulating the federal government developmental program towards ensuring the rapid growth and development of the country. The program today shall give detailed information and analysis of the giant strides accomplished by the government in a bid to ensure delivery of democratic dividends to the citizens. We shall also attempt to explore all sides to any issues of public interest with accuracy, objectivity, and fairness. So we shall be focusing on the Secretary of State visit to Nigeria and President Bola Tinubu conversations. These and many more stories of social, political, and economic importance. So stay tuned. Welcome back. United States Secretary of State, Mr. Anthony Blinken, on Tuesday paid a visit to Nigeria. The Secretary of State was in Nigeria as part of his tour of the West African sub-region. Discussions centered around food security, pharmaceuticals, climate action, blue economy, development, science and technology, security in Nigeria and the West African region. The Secretary expressed the readiness of United States firms to invest massively in Nigeria, especially in the area of technological development.
At this juncture, the session for question and answer will commence. As I mentioned earlier, there will be 4 questions entertained, 2 from the Nigerian Press Corps and 2 from the United States Press Corps. They will be handled from one press corps each to the next. And I will begin by calling on Adesua Omoruwan of Arise News, Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Jesse. Foreign Minister, Secretary Blinken, can I just say that you missed watching the better football game at AFCON yesterday, where our Super Eagles emerged victorious, and not the game you saw in Abidjan, where Ivory Coast was, suffered a crushing and crashing out defeat. But to my question, I just thought I should put that out, Mr. Secretary. Secretary, the U.S. has demonstrated its willingness to support the likes of Ukraine and other embattled democracies when threatened by anti-democratic powers. In line with this, Nigerians have asked the question why similar levels of support in terms of hard equipment, financing, and intelligence are not provided at a similar scale with a similar level of urgency, given the fact that there is a clear attempt by some powers to create a belt of dictatorships at the expense of democracy in the Sahel. And permit me, Mr. Secretary, why is the U.S. and its allies not showing the same level of concern, considering the level of insecurity and infrastructural devastation present in some regions in Nigeria? You have just said some of your workers were affected in the recent killings, and you have reassured President Bola Tinubu. But Nigerians will wonder why it seems as if the U.S. and its allies are less concerned about the sustenance and development of democracies in Africa compared to the democracies in Europe, like we see you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me start by saying that we were very impressed with the Super Eagles. And of course, as a good diplomat, I'm not going to pick sides, but we wish very well for the Super Eagles as they move forward in the tournament. Let me say this in response to the, I think, very important question. I have to tell you, we are intensely focused on challenges to security in the region, in the Sahel, intensely focused because of the impact that it's having on our friends and partners, intensely focused because of the broader impact that insecurity can have on all of us, including the United States. And we've already talked a little bit about Niger, where the leadership that President Tinubu was showing through ECOWAS we hope can make a difference in restoring the constitutional order and restoring a critical partner in trying to find security in the region. One thing I can also say is this. As some countries have looked to various ways of providing security, including going to partners like the Wagner Group, what we've seen is actually the problem getting manifestly worse and worse and worse. You see the exploitation of people and resources by Wagner. We've actually seen violence and extremism in the countries where it's been operating go up, not down. In fact, go up dramatically. Having said that, it's important that we be working to support our partners who are trying to find effective ways of fighting insecurity. And we are working to support Nigeria. We're working to support our Lake Chad region partners to strengthen the capacity of their security forces in a whole variety of ways to deal with insecurity. And yes, that does go to equipment, to technology, to weapons, and we're working on that, but it also goes to many other things, including information sharing, intelligence, technical support, advice, and it goes to having a comprehensive approach that genuinely focuses on citizen security, working with local communities in partnership, demonstrating that security forces are there first and foremost to protect them and to support their needs. By the way, that was an approach that was delivering results in Niger when President Bazoum was in office before he was deposed in a coup. And in every place where there's been an unconstitutional change in leadership, as I said, things have only gotten worse. So when you look at what we are doing, we're providing assistance through a variety of means, through our diplomacy, engaging with other countries, through our security assistance, through police and military and justice program reforms, which are vital, through dialogue efforts, through development programs. All of these things work hand in hand. Now, it's also vitally important from our perspective and the perspective of our Congress that there be a focus on making sure that civilians are protected, that humanitarian considerations be taken into consideration and into concern as all of these efforts are underway. And that's part of our dialogue and conversation too with our partners in Nigeria and elsewhere in the region.
Hands up from the United States Press Corps, those who would like to ask a question. Please introduce yourself.
Julian Piquet from Jeune Afrique and the Africa Report. I have a follow-up question to my Nigerian colleague's question. You're meeting today as the Sahel is increasingly fragmented, as you know. I was wondering if you think West African leaders and their Western allies should engage with coup leaders. Presidents Biden and President Tinubu are both reluctant to accept the coup in Niger, understandably. But does that risk, pushing the junta into the hands of the Russians, just like Mali and Burkina Faso? Thank you.
Look, I don't think these two things are inconsistent. We, of course, don't recognize what happened in Niger or in other countries where a coup has taken place. And in fact, we clearly declared the fact that there had been a coup. The question is, what is the most effective way to get back on the democratic track, in the case of Niger, to return to the constitutional order? And that also involves some engagement with those who perpetrated the coup, which is exactly what ECOWAS has done, what President Tinubu has done, what we've done in engaging with the CNSP and setting out what is necessary if Niger is to once again enjoy the relationships that it had with all of us, including assistance, including cooperation on counterterrorism, including other forms of support. So I don't think these things are inconsistent. And as I mentioned, back in December, there was a very important meeting between ECOWAS, chaired by President Tinubu, and those responsible for the coup in Niger to just be very clear about what we're looking for, what the region is looking for, what ECOWAS is looking for, what the international community is looking for to get Niger back on track. Now, we'll see if that produces results, but I think being very clear about what happened, very clear about what we're doing about it, but also having the appropriate engagement is necessary to see if we can move this to a better place.
The second question from the Nigerian Press Corps. Please raise your hand. All right, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stephen Mbulu. I write for the Punch newspapers. Secretary Blinken, the policies of President Bola Tinubu seem to align closely with many prescriptions and recommendations of the World Bank and Western allies. They include policies such as the removal of long-standing subsidies on petrol, and of course the unification of the foreign exchange rates, amongst others. Nigerians anticipated a reciprocal boost in infrastructural investment and US dollar liquidity injection, the kind seen in Egypt, Ethiopia, Israel, and others. But that has not been forthcoming. President Joe Biden launched the Build Back Better World program for infrastructural investment in developing countries. Now, what can you tell Nigerians about the extent of investment across sectors that the United States is ready and willing to commit to the Nigerian economy? And what encumbrances, if any, do you see in the way of tens of billions of dollars worth of investment in infrastructure and the US dollar denominated liquidity? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, as I mentioned before, and I think a few things are important here. One is what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing is very real interest on the part of American companies, American investors in working here in Nigeria, investing here in Nigeria, helping partner with Nigeria, and in so doing, create new jobs, new opportunities, and even new industries. This is a big focus of our binational commission and the work that we're doing together. I mentioned as well, though, there remain some impediments that we hear from our own business community that I think stand in the way of maximizing those opportunities. One is the repatriation of capital. This is important. I know the central bank governor is working on that. And second is the ongoing effort to combat corruption, because companies that come in and invest want to make sure that they're going to be investing with a fair and level playing field. And corruption, of course, is a big impediment to that. Having said all of that, look, I do think we're seeing real movement. When we had the Africa Leaders Summit hosted by President Biden, one of the commitments we made was to generate an additional $55 billion in private sector investment in Africa over the next 3 years. Well, here we are 1 year after the summit, and we are 40% of the way to achieving that goal. By 2 years out after the summit, based on the trajectory we're on now, we'll be at 70% of that goal, and we will achieve the goal in the 3 years as President Biden set out. That's just one, albeit an important manifestation, not only of our commitment to generating more private sector investment, but actually to doing it. And as President Tinubu and I had a chance to discuss this, I think there are responsibilities on all sides. One, as I mentioned, are the things that can be done here in Nigeria to create the best possible climate for investment. But two, on our end, is to use all of the tools of government that we can to support that, because for the United States, as much as we are doing with assistance programs of one kind or another, as much as we are doing as being the leading contributor by far to virtually every United Nations program that helps other countries, and that may not be so known to people because it may have a United Nations label on it as opposed to a USA label on it, there is more that we can, and President Biden is doing, to help us generate private sector investment, which is really the comparative advantage that we bring. And that includes using some of the tools in our government that have not been used as effectively before to support the private sector in terms of risk investment, in in terms of supporting in one way or another the investments with insurance, with participation. We have tools like the Development Finance Corporation, like the Export-Import Bank and others that are now working together in ways that they haven't before and firing on all cylinders. It's a whole of government approach to trying to generate and target private sector investment. One last thing. I'm convinced more than ever before that in Africa in general, in Nigeria in particular, because of its extraordinary strengths, so much more can and should be made in Africa for Africans, but also for the entire world. I think there are tremendous opportunities here, for example, in the pharmaceutical sector to make things here in Nigeria. But that also requires doing things like strengthening the regulatory agencies that are responsible for overseeing something as complicated and as challenging as pharmaceuticals. And also, so that Nigeria can be an exporter to other countries in the region, harmonizing regulations and rules with other countries in the region. So there's a lot of work that goes into this, but the foundation is there, the intent is there, the energy is there, as we both do what's necessary to create the strongest possible environment for investment here, to maximize the tools that we have at our disposal to support private sector investment. I think you'll see that moving forward in very significant ways.
Permit me, Your Excellencies, to remind the participants present here that following the next question and answer, this session will come to a close. And the reason why I mention this now is because it is important that everyone remain seated while the United States Secretary of State and the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs depart from this hall. Without further ado, I invite the next question from the U.S. Press Corps.
Thank you. Good evening. Michael Crowley with the New York Times. Secretary Blinken, you have said that among the principles the U.S. believes in for the aftermath of the conflict in Gaza, one of them is that Israel must not create buffer zones or change the size of Palestinian territory within Gaza. There's some reporting and indications that Israel may in fact be beginning to do that now. I wondered, first, do you believe that to be the case? Are you seeing those indications that Israel may be trying to create buffer areas? And if that is the case, what might the Biden administration be trying to do to prevent that? Mr. Minister, my question for you also relates to the conflict in Gaza. Nigeria has supported a ceasefire in Gaza at the United Nations. The United States does not support a ceasefire in Gaza, and I wonder whether that difference in position and the U.S. position toward the conflict in Gaza might be causing any harm to America's image within your country, where there have been demonstrations in support of the Palestinians and calls for a ceasefire. Thank you both.
Michael, I'm happy to start. So, as you said, we've been very clear going back some months now about some basic principles when it comes to the way forward for Gaza and more broadly. And with regard to Gaza, we've been very clear our opposition to the forced displacement of people. We've been very clear about maintaining, in effect, the territorial integrity of Gaza, which is what you've alluded to, and a number of other critical principles, including Palestinian governance of Gaza, reunified with the West Bank, etc. Whether there need to be, and it's appropriate to have, transitional arrangements as Israel reduces the intensity of its military operations in Gaza and ultimately brings them to a conclusion in order to both ensure its security, to make sure that October 7th can never happen again, and then get to a place where we have more permanent arrangements that go to the governance of Gaza, the security of Gaza, the redevelopment of Gaza. I think that's one question, but we've been very clear about opposing any permanent change to to Gaza's territory configuration. Now, one thing that's also very important, you've had in Israel hundreds of thousands of people in the south and in the north taken together who've been forced because of insecurity to flee their homes. Of course, people in southern Israel adjacent to Gaza after October 7th, as well as people in northern Israel because of insecurity coming from the border with Lebanon. And it is totally appropriate and something we support, that those people be able to return to their homes and that the necessary security arrangements be in place to give them the confidence to do that. So, again, if there need to be transitional arrangements to enable that to happen, that's one thing. But when it comes to the permanent status of Gaza going forward, we've been clear, we remain clear about not encroaching on its territory.
Thank you. The issue of Gaza is one that President Tinubu brought up during the course of the discussions, and it was deliberated upon. It was discussed extensively. The approach here is to focus on the commonalities. So one thing we have in common, a common denominator between the US and Nigeria, is the fact that we both agree that the way forward is the two-state solution. And I think that's not in doubt. Having said that, of course, each country behaves with regards to foreign policy with the influence of its domestic politics and domestic influences. So it's not surprising that Nigeria, of course, has been from the get-go very expressive with regards to the issue of proportionality of violence. The Israeli approach, in Gaza, we've expressed concerns, which is why I was part of a 7-member committee of foreign ministers that went round to world capitals, calling for a cessation of fire. So that remains, but we focus on the commonalities, not on the differences. Thank you.
Thank you. This session has come to a close. Please remain seated. Please.
Still on the visit of the U.S. Secretary of State to Nigeria, already technical giants for the U.S. have teamed up with Nigerian partners to help meet President Bola Tinubu's 1 million digital jobs initiative. A pledge of $45 million for security was made for Nigeria and other West African countries. President Bola Tinubu also used the opportunity to restate the need for Nigeria to have a seat of the United Nations Security Council. Let's go on a short break. When we return, shall bring you more details, things that happened on the sideline during the celebration of the the celebration of Chief Bisi Akade as he marked his 85th birthday. Chief Bisi
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, And if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of Aso Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, Aso Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
Welcome back. President Bola Tinubu recently celebrated his long-term confidant, Chief Bisi Akande, when he marked his 85th birthday at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Chief Bisi Akande was the governor of Osun State from 1999 to 2003 and the pioneer interim national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, APC. President Tinubu, in a statement by a spokesman, Ajuri in Galilee, extolled Baba Akande's defining principles of integrity, loyalty, truth, and justice, recalling his exemplary leadership, audacy, and selfless service to Nigeria. He described him as Baba, a principal actor in the founding of the APC, which he described as a great party. President Tinubu said he had always been a progressive, always noble and disciplined in thoughts and actions, as well as given to rational and enlightened ideals. He said Chief Bisi Akande was a cherished friend and confidant, so generous with his wise counsel. He celebrated him.
I want to talk on two things. One is our president. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And two is about you all. I didn't know that people celebrate birthdays. And I don't attend birthday celebrations. One day somebody met me and said they wanted me to be a guest or something, whether a chairman at an occasion. He first of all asked me, where are you going to be on the 16th of January? I said, in my village now. I said, but we want you to join us at a celebration in Lagos. I said, no, I will be in my village. I won't go to any celebration. I said, what? He said, they want just me. He didn't tell me the thing. He said, they want me just to be a chairman or a guest of honor. He wasn't coherent. I said, okay, I can afford to be there on the 14th, but I should be in my village on the 16th to celebrate. I didn't even remember the age, but I was going to 70. So on the 14th, I went to Lagos as if to preside over one of the youth arrangements to discover that, a concourse of leaders, great leaders like you, presided over by the Vice President Atiku Abubakar. And they put me there. They said they were celebrating my 70th birthday. I couldn't understand it. Vice President Yemi Osibajo was to be the lecturer. They said many nice things about me, things I never expected. And they asked me to reply. I burst to tears. I didn't know what to say. I was overwhelmed. And they pacified me, just made me sit down. And I thought I was free to go home. On the day of the birthday in my village, people in my village had never seen such a crowd before. All people all over the southwest were there, led by President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. His wife was with my wife, doing the cooking and the serving and something we never thought about. We never planned for it. What's happening? They say I was 70. From that day, I started counting, and I was feeling proud. I thought I was already a senior citizen, not knowing that they all too are growing to meet me as senior citizens. And in the same way, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu called us all over to Lagos to celebrate my 75th under the chairmanship of President Muhammadu Buhari. My 75, yes, under President Muhammadu Buhari. And to Ibadan again to celebrate my 80th birthday. So this time, I decided not to let him know. I thought he would forget. Some of my colleagues met me and they said they were arranging something. They call it foundation. I said, oh, that's all right. And they said they want to use my date of birth. I couldn't argue with them because they were the one doing it. But I knew people in my village who want me to celebrate for them. So for a week, I had been in the village trying to prepare their minds so that they won't know I've been celebrated in Ibadan without their knowledge. Not knowing about this at all. But when it got to an advanced level, I thought it would not be fair for me not to say it to Mr. President, who had been organizing the celebration all these years. So one day I met him, and I said, President, I'm going to the village. He said, for what? I said, well, I'm going for Christmas, and I will stay back, for my birthday. Oh, he said it's going to be celebrated in Abuja. I said, no, how can it be celebrated in Abuja? I'm going to celebrate it in Ela. He said, Ela has no security. I said, we are living there, nothing is happening to us. Then he said, that's not the kind of security he's talking about for president. I said, no, not now. You are for Nigeria, and don't come. And don't be, just be your president, and we'll be doing our thing. Later he said, okay, can't we change the time in Ibadan to 2 or to 4? I said, just be doing your presidency. Some other people are doing what you have been doing when you are not president. Leave them alone to do what they want to do. And like a joke, I left him. And the committee was doing what it was doing. I didn't know I was put in the black, but I knew they were doing something. So yesterday evening, I got to Ibadan, ready for today's celebration, the lecture, because I said I wanted educational talk. And they say we are going to talk about leadership. I was happy. Early in the morning, somebody called me and said, have I seen what Chief Akeyele sent to me? I said, no. Then I opened my phone. It was an invitation from the president about this dinner. Like I was when I was 70. So I felt this morning when I read about this. And here we are. I don't know what you see in me, and I don't know what young people see in older people, but I will retaliate by attending your 100th birthday before I die. Thank you very much. I thank you very much for being loyal and honest to your friend. May God continue to promote your aspirations. And this presidency you are doing, I know, with all these my other people, because somebody came here and said that when I see people, I become happier, and I don't want to die again. So because of them, I won't die until you are 100. And you are coming to do the second term by the grace of God. And for all of you, I will live and live and live. May you all live long in good health and prosperity. Thank you very much.
I want the applause to continue. Thank you. Thank you.
This is my day of remarks, celebrating two similar characters, but of different professional backgrounds. Earlier on today, I was celebrating President Buhari on a book launch. And I thought, I asked myself, am I going to cope to this later one? But listening to the people, the remarks from this podium is inspirational enough, both coordinating MCs, I said it all, that we are Mr. Integrity. We, the younger ones, we are very lucky to have you. You deserve to be celebrated. And thank you for always being forthright, being honest. I set my remark to Ibadan. I don't want to repeat myself beyond the fact that lucky enough for me, I have you. I thank God for your life, forthrightness, candor, honesty, irretrievable commitment to humanity, and country. We look for great minds, great people. We are students of leadership in various forms, but we have not studied enough of bad leaders, because we are always very afraid to talk about bad leaders. But anybody who wants something to learn should see Chief Bisi Akande, both about good and about bad leaders. Anyone who wants to learn about forgiveness, candor, reliability should see Chief Bisi Akande. When we were talking about the merger, some people said, I don't want to mention names here. If you consider so person, you will not deal with a soldier. Asiwaju, you know what you usually say of these uniform people? That camouflage is a lie. The meaning is deception. Why do you want to go to Buhari? Chibisi Akande said, forget those definitions. We are in politics, and the politics is for integrity and honesty. Buhari is a true leader. Let's go to him. So this morning I was celebrating the legacy of Buhari as they were celebrating you this afternoon in Oyo State. So I was thinking how we pull through this dinner. But looking at this crowd, I'm greatly impressed and grateful to God Almighty. Thank you to Scope, Akim, my personal secretary, and many of you who are to see to the distribution of the contract. Because Chief Bisi Akande, you are a father to many, and you've lived a life worthy of emulation. You've signed up for many of us that we will live long, and you taught us perseverance, patience, honesty, and management of resources, be it human or capital resources. Thank you. This is just to say thank you. Because of who you are and what we are today. See me standing before you. I am the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You know how many times and how long that we speak truth to power, deliberate on how to take the course of this nation, how to change and comply with our developmental objectives. You are in for that. You've been doing it. Whispering silently. Be patient. Be patient. I said, the man who sent you to 40 years imprisonment without knowing how long you will live, how can we live with him to be president of this country? He said, no, that's past. Look forward. But right now, I am looking forward. Not looking backwards. You are a great mind, and I thank you for being there. Wish you 90, 95, 100, then whatever you decide to do after 100. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Nigeria.
Speaking further, President Tinubu wished Baba Akande many more years in good health and strength, and thanked him for his unfailing support and sacrifice over the years and now. Equally, former President Muhammadu Buhari sent birthday greetings to Baba Akande, describing him as a wise man under whose watch the party made great strides. Well, that's all we have for you today on Philanscope. Join us next week, same time. I'm Akin Ajibola.